lost 70 pounds using food only. I talked about this recently in a YouTube video, and I got some great feedback that maybe I wasn't crystal clear exactly on the steps that I took, so I'm back. And I figured I would help you lay them all out step by step and give you the details. First, I'm gonna talk about why it's possible, and then I'm gonna tell you how to do it. A lot of times when we think about weight loss, we tend to think about adding exercise, and exercise is the way that we actually are losing weight. But at the end of the day, it's food exchanged for energy, right? So whether we're working out or not, our body requires different energy to get us throughout the day. Weight loss is possible without exercise because at the end of the day, exercise is a tool that we use to speed up transformation. It's not what we use to create the transformation. It will help it, but it's not the only solution.
Hold on just a second.
So a lot of times when we have a transformation, it's coming from the food that we're putting in our body. That means focusing on what food we're putting in our body and how much of it. Food isn't bad, it's the types of food that you're eating. Think about it this way. If you go to a steakhouse and you order the plate with the steak and the mushrooms and the potatoes, that in itself is not bad food choices. You're making healthy decisions. The problem is how they are making it. It's when somebody else has control. Another example would be burgers, right? If you go to McDonald's and you order a burger, that doesn't mean that burgers are bad. But if you make that same burger at home, it's going to be much healthier. Burgers aren't bad, it's where and who is making them and how processed they are that is contributing to excess weight and plateaus and stalls. Processed foods, things like carbohydrates, fat, these are all terms that we are told are bad for us. And it's not that they're bad, it's when they're processed and created by other manufacturing plants or other restaurants and they're adding all these additives, that's what makes the carb bad. For example, you go to the store to purchase beef to make this burger. You have a range of options in the fat content of the beef, and if we're trying to transform, we're shooting for a 96% or higher beef. Now, you go to a restaurant, we'll say Red Robin, and you order a burger there, they are going to use whatever beef is cost effective to that restaurant at that time. So you're probably looking at an 83% lean beef. You have two of the same patties, but the 96% is going to be way lower in fat content. Excess fat, excess oils, all of those are going to contribute to weight gain over time. Let's take another example. We'll say yogurts, right? We all know someone who has kids, or maybe we just like them ourselves, but you have the Go-Gurts, right? Or you can do something like a non-fat Greek yogurt, right? A lot cleaner and healthier. You can add things to that yogurt. You can add flavors. You can add a Crystal Light to it. It's going to be way healthier and again, less fat than what somebody else is going to put into the Go-Gurt. They're gonna be adding additives. There's gonna be extra sugar in there. They're trying to make it taste as great as possible. And even though these things taste really, really good, they are contributing to why your scale is not moving or why it's going the wrong way. Yogurt's not the problem. It's what is in the yogurt that you can't control. Okay, so I just told you that the food isn't bad, it's how it's made that's bad, right? So how do we solve this? There's tons of ways to solve this. You have calories, you have macros, but for those of you who just need a place to start and don't know what to do, and you're not ready to go to that level, let me help you. You can make simple changes, things like these, to make big changes on the scale. So processed foods are going to be anything that has been altered or man-made to make a product, right? We're talking about the beef again. So that would be an example of if you buy beef at a store, just a container of beef, you're set. If you go and buy beef in the freezer section where that patty has already been made and already been formed, that's an example of processed. So anything that, think about it this way, if it comes out of the ground and it's been modified, typically that's something that's processed. Processed foods are always going to be higher in calories and in all of your macros. And sometimes, more often than not, those are going to be higher in the wrong areas, causing excess calories and excess weight gain, as well as inflammation and all that other fun stuff. We're trying to fix it all, okay? Next, if you stick to whole foods, that would be the first step that we want to achieve. If you don't know where to start, you don't know how to count your calories, you don't even know what your calorie count is, the first thing that I did was I started switching my foods and limiting the amount of processed foods that I was eating on a daily basis. That meant I needed to start making food myself. That can be overwhelming if you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have time. I work a full-time job. I have 10 kids. I have a husband. I have a partner, whatever it is. Start simple. Shoot for 80% whole foods within your diet. And then it leaves you a little bit of a range so that if you feel like you need to stop somewhere or have that quick, easy go processed food, you don't have to feel too guilty. Most people right now are eating 80% processed foods. They're eating out, they're eating all of these other manufactured foods that are just way higher in calories, fats, and carbs than they should be. Skip the processed foods and do the best you can to start making the first change to whole foods, and it will make a major difference in the calorie intake and the scale. All right, now that we talked about why processed foods are the problem, here's how we fix it. Step 1, stop eating out, make your own food. Here's how we make our own food. Check it out. Nice and simple. I like to call this a adult style Lunchable. What you're gonna do is you're gonna make a meal that's easy for you to eat on the go and take anywhere, that doesn't require a ton of work. You're gonna fill it with categories, which in long term for advanced people we would call macros, but for the sake of beginners, you're looking for one protein. So you want one container that has protein in it. Then you're gonna have carbs. So you'll fill the other tubs, one of them with a carbohydrate, and then another one you'll have some form of a veggie, all right? If you feel like this is a little overwhelming or confusing for you, you can use the link in the description and it will give you a free guide to explain all of these categories and foods that fit within them that would be great for these Lunchables. To make this super simple, let me tell you exactly what to put in here. First, we have a teriyaki chicken. These are just chicken breasts that I diced up, marinated in a teriyaki sauce, and stuck in here. It's perfect finger size, so you can just pick it up and eat it on the go, even if you don't get a full lunch break. Then, so this chicken is gonna be our protein. Then we're gonna move on to the carb. For this carb, I put strawberries and I mixed with some popcorn. This is a skinny, light, very mild popcorn, and then just a couple pieces of pretzels. This is gonna count for our carb, right? So nice, fast digesting carb, easy to eat again with our hands, and it's not gonna make me feel so full that I'm not gonna wanna eat later. Last thing I did was I put some celery sticks in here, and for the days that I'm at work and I tend to get that sweet tooth sometimes, we all kind of know what that's like, I added a hummus. That is a chocolate dessert hummus that you can get at any grocery store, which is gonna be a way better option than something like an actual chocolate. The next option that you can do is, here's another example. On this one, we used protein again. Our protein is gonna be hard-boiled eggs. I put 4 hard-boiled eggs in there. I really like hard-boiled eggs. There is a carb. So our carb is going to be we put grapes and we put fruit, but you could easily do something like some chopped potatoes or something like that. We also have veggies, and this time we made a light Greek yogurt ranch dressing that we can use to dip the veggies in. And then we also have included our fat, which is our last macro. With that, we did a light mozzarella cheese stick, and then we also kept the yolk in one of the eggs. So this is a great balanced, proportionate meal that I can eat on the go that is all whole foods. We do have a little bit of processed. I understand that. The string cheese is processed, and then we have the hummus, the pretzels, but with this case, 80% of this is whole foods, came straight out of the ground. It leaves us room for the 20% to be able to include so that we don't feel like we can't have anything. Very clean, very healthy, very balanced, and it takes the place and is a much better option for your waist, for your health, than something like running through a McDonald's drive-thru. Portion size. This is really important, right? Because every container is gonna be a different size, and you gotta make sure that you're, again, not eating too much, but you're not eating too little. So there are a couple of really cool things that you can use to help you with that. In terms of portion size, if we think of the 3 things that we're trying to put into our plates, we want a protein, we want a carb, and then we would wanna try and get a fat in there somewhere throughout the day, right? So you can actually use your hand for this. It's really, really cool, so that you know the right portion sizes. When you're building a plate or a Lunchable or any type of meal, make sure that you are getting a serving of protein. And the serving of protein should be anywhere from the size of the palm to the size of the middle crease, kind of right in here. So anywhere in here. Think about the thickness being like a deck of cards. This way you know exactly how much protein to put on every plate or in your Lunchable, which is how I judged how much chicken to put in. The next category is gonna be the carb. We put the berries in, we put the popcorn in, but how much? If we eat too much, we gain weight. If we eat too little, we don't change. So a good rule of thumb for that is you would use your hand in this kind of realm. You would do a full serving where it kind of heaps over. Fill your carb about that much, and then that's the serving size. Kind of think of like a baseball. Make sense? You want to be able to visually know more than that. So if you think of something like Olive Garden and you order a big plate of pasta, it's again too much pasta because you're having such large portion. That's like 8 palms of hands. That's like, that's not 8 palms of hands, but you get what I'm saying. It's way too much. All right, the last one is fat, and this one is the really important one. Most of the time, if you feel like you're eating really clean and your scale is not moving, you are probably eating too many carbohydrates and too much fat. Most of the time, fat is the problem, and that is because all of the not all, but majority of the processed foods that are out there contain a lot of fat to make them taste good. Your fat serving should be the size of your thumb right here. You should shoot for 1 to 2 servings of fat a day, no more than that. If you think about that, many of us are probably eating a lot more. Your fat is going to contain way more calories than any other macro, more than protein and more than carbs. So if we're eating the most of that in our day, we are gaining or not seeing the scale move. So thumb size, tablespoon, 1 to 2 per day, not every meal. Shoot for 3 meals a day with a couple of snacks. You should be good. Keep your portion sizes and use your hands every time. Your hand is a really cool tool because it's specific to each person. So if you have a friend who is a male and he's 6'2" and you're really short like I am, his hands are gonna be much bigger. And the cool thing about that is his hands are proportionate to his body, which means his serving size will be spot on for his size. Listen guys, I am really talking to the people who have not much experience with food. They think they're eating healthy or they're trying to really make a change in their food and their scale, and they're just not seeing it. These are basic ways to start. Obviously, if you are someone who is advanced, the more that you learn about nutrition, the more that you can engage. So at some point, you're gonna wanna learn to count calories, you're gonna wanna learn about macros, but this is just very beginner friendly for those people who have 60, 70, 40 pounds to lose and they don't know what they're doing wrong. This is a great place to start. So don't come after me. Obviously, real quick, this portion size thing is a guideline. So remember, if you're working out 5-6 days a week, your portion sizes are gonna change. This is really me talking to you about how I made these changes when I went through my weight loss with no exercise. It really is this simple. This does not have to be difficult. Try to avoid eating out, make your food at home, stick to your portion sizes, and at every meal, make sure you're getting a protein and a carb, some veggies, and at least once a day getting a serving of fat. If you feel like you're stuck and you still aren't sure or you need help, you can either click the link and get more information, or you can always reach out to us. If you're someone who's more advanced and wants help with calorie counting and macro counting, I love to talk food. I can talk those all day. We can even help you customize your exact numbers. But for those of you who are new and confused and not sure what's happening, you guys have my heart. We all have to start somewhere. This is a great place to start. Balance your plate with the 3 servings, get the portion size right, stick to whole foods. I hope this was helpful, and I hoped I explained a little bit better for you. See you in the next video.